A whole new world.
Don't
you know it goes right back to
Don't you
Sally.
dare close your eyes. A new fantastic point of
Hold
view.
your breath, it gets better.
No one do tell us no, or where to go. Something
Say we're
only dreaming.
I mean, I don't know.
Clappity clap. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 36 of From the Middle. We're a couple middle-class guys all hanging around.
We're a few middle class guys.
All right, well,
A triad.
that's a little much.
Do over. 3, 2, 1.
That was crappy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 36 of From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys just kind of hanging out. And our whole vibe here is if you were hanging out with us at a bar or a restaurant, anywhere that you'd want to just have some food and hang out, that's this show.
Pretty much, other than the lack of food, this
Or, yeah, anything that would make it more enjoyable.
that was good.
We have a chocolate peanut butter stout.
Yeah.
Or not stout, porter.
Okay.
Porter going on.
And that's this whole show. We just like to hang out, catch up on each other's lives, and hopefully we're that good kind of like easy listening podcast on the way home as folks just are on their commute or they're winding down at their house or they need a sedative for bedtime. If
Nice.
that jives with you guys. And we want to thank our sponsors, Backroom Coffee. Head to Backroom Coffee Roasters. Throw all kinds of great stuff in your cart on the website. There's a little drop down. You can select that and let them know that you heard about the podcast or about their coffee from the podcast. And they're a great sponsor. Thanks so much, Backroom.
Right on.
Yep.
What's going on with you guys this week?
We didn't even plan that.
We did not plan that. I tell you what.
Okay.
Excuse me.
We're getting real.
Getting real. Nah.
Tell us
Just
what.
Busy, man.
Yeah.
Just busy. There's I don't know. December tends to be, for a lot of people, myself included, sort of the busiest month of the year, and I always trick myself because I always think to myself, you know what, January 1st is going to hit, and that's going to be like the last of the holidays, and then it's going to be smooth there on out, and it's just not. It's a lie.
What's going on?
It's a lie.
Like, what do you have going on?
There's all kinds of stuff. Just stuff. Busy work.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
I feel like I think we do the same thing in our family. There's so many young kids' birthdays from like December through like March. And it feels like every other week there's another birthday party or something going on, which is great. Like it's a lot of fun, lots of good excuses from November, like Thanksgiving till March to see family. But there's just lots of those things going on. So it's a good time, not a complaint, but it does make that whole first kind of quarter of the year fly by.
Yeah, I do feel like so all month I've been running behind on things, and then last week I felt like I'd finally gotten the ball rolling on some things that people were waiting on me for, and really had a good week, got some stuff accomplished. The weekend came around and I felt good, and then I find out like a day too late that I missed a meeting that I was supposed to be at, and then I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
You've got to be kidding me. There was more, and I did not.
That's what I struggle most with is the feeling that someone is waiting on me for something.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about a missed meeting. I'm just talking about an email to be sent, a file to be sent. They're waiting on stuff. So I just feel everything goes into this giant pool of expectation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just letting everybody down.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I've been as well. It's just like trying to catch up on a lot of that stuff. Everybody kind of takes the end of the year off, and that's normal, right? Even in corporate America, that feels true.
Yeah.
But then everybody's expectations right out of the gate of the first of the year of like they're ready to get back into it, and they're all waiting on something from you. That's what I struggle most with.
Yeah. I always like even in past jobs when it's heavily reliant on email, inbox, in and out, stuff like that. It's like clearing out the goal in soccer. Just get everything, like everything's always on the other person to respond. Nobody's ever waiting on me. Clear out the goal, get it to the other end of the field, and then I can relax a little bit and wait for the first thing that crosses that midway point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want any of it to be on me.
Yeah.
Let's clear out the goal and my day's
yeah.
going to be a lot more smooth.
I'm fine if there's a bottleneck. I just don't want to be the bottleneck.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah.
But the problem is, though, you do those in bursts. So you get them all out, you clear the goal, and then they all come back at the same time.
well, that happens too sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, it does feel a little bit like a busy season. There's a lot going on at church. There's a lot going on with family. There's a lot going on with the birthdays you mentioned. I'm responsible for 3 of those.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Yeah.
Sherry and I just really like the springtime.
Yeah.
So-
it's fine. No, like I said, it's a good problem. And for anybody that's curious, how's Toby?
Oh, Toby's good. Toby's going through a phase
Yeah.
right now.
By going through a phase, he's referring to his bird,
Right.
not a child of his.
Yeah, exactly. No, Toby the parrot. He's going through what we read is something of an adolescent phase right now, and so he's a little volatile.
Little mouthy.
Back talk.
He's a little mouthy. He's talking back.
Yeah.
Doesn't get along so well with my wife at the moment, and yeah. But I mean, he's healthy otherwise.
His
and,
gym bag's real stinky.
his gym
asking
bag
for money.
Exactly. He keeps telling us he's going to move out,
Yeah.
and we're like, "Where are you going to go, idiot?
You're on a leash.
You're a bird." Yeah. People aren't hiring birds. Okay,
Yeah.
you're not going to find a job.
Not in this economy.
Not in this economy. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
It's real tough out there for birds.
And we've got a living wage to spare for a bird.
Yeah.
No one's saying that.
No one's saying that.
No one's saying
Not a
that.
single person is
Yeah.
saying that.
And so we feed him and
Yeah.
we give him water
Yep.
and we clean his cage sometimes.
Yep.
And he's just a cranky teenager about it all.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
Toby, if you're listening, you're going to shape up, buddy.
Yeah.
You're going to live under my roof. Anyway.
Corey?
Lily is in basketball tournaments right now, wrapping up the season. Just left New Albany. New Albany is one of the fancier suburbs of Columbus, the outskirts of Columbus. Just left their campus, and I had never. I've driven by it a lot, but I've never been on the campus. This is a school district where the whole neighborhood is zoned to be colonial brick and white columns, right? Like even Wendy's and Tim Hortons and Taco Bell aren't allowed to do their normal neon signs. They all have to do signs below a certain height, colonial brick, white, like navy blue, maybe sometimes on signage. But like this whole area is zoned like that, right?
Yeah.
The school was modeled after West Virginia University's campus, and it is like, I don't know how many buildings, like 12, 15 buildings. We go to the middle school. I sent you guys pictures before we recorded tonight. It's like one of the nicest buildings you've ever seen, and it's just the middle school.
Yeah.
And then we walked into the gymnasium, the middle school gymnasium. You walk in, ground level is where the backboards are. So then you walk along the sides to like half court, and you come down these like white staircases. It's hard to explain without seeing it, but just this whole, it's just
Man.
craziness.
You know, I feel good for the middle school folks that they got a building that was theirs. I would say that probably just about every school district that exists, the middle school building is the high school leftovers.
Yeah.
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 We passed a levy, we built a new high school
Yeah.
because and they passed a levy because they were trashing the building that the high school was and be
Yeah.
like, oh, it's falling apart and we're
Yeah.
getting cancer.
Yep.
And
Now
so
throw the middle schoolers in there.
and then they're like, so they built a new high school, and then the middle school was like, we'll take it.
Yeah. So Sherry was
Anyway.
telling me that their multi-purpose room for the entire campus. What's the thing like in the Capitol building? The
Rotunda?
The rotunda has a rotunda with a chandelier where Leanne Rimes did a concert back in the day in just their regular multi-purpose room.
What?
Like that's how nice this campus is. And like this is called
Well,
From the Middle
I mean,
because
Leon Rhymes nice.
Yeah.
Not Celine Dion nice.
All right.
so
There's not a rotunda big enough in the state for her charming boots. All right.
none of the schools in our conference growing up had rotundas. Yeah. So anyway, that was just, I don't know. Sherry's like, why are you taking all these pictures? I'm like a tourist on their campus. It was spectacular. I don't know. That's the stuff.
You know who could probably tell you a lot about the architecture?
That's the stuff that keeps you humble because you're like, you just didn't grow up around that.
Yeah.
And so when you see, and then you think middle schoolers and high schoolers are living a life like this, where they have orchestra class in between and all these matching little golf carts that drive around and are landscaping going on when they're walking in between classes from building to building.
Yeah.
You're just like, these are
Yeah.
middle schoolers.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me.
Clean water.
No kidding. Yeah.
I don't
Must
know.
be
So,
nice.
Anyway, so Lily's played great. I tell you what, like every school sports at every school are different. And I remember like our aunt and uncle telling us that when their daughter had gone from, I forget what it was, like 4th grade soccer to 5th grade soccer, like it got real serious in 5th grade. Well, this is Lily's first year playing on a school team. So she's done the Upward thing. Which I don't know how to explain Upward if you're not familiar with Upward. Upward is like a church league where it's like a learner's league and they don't really enforce the rules and they can basically carry the ball around. It's like try to dribble, but like...
For not knowing how to explain it. Yeah, that's literally exactly it.
So then she played a rec league. So this is her first time playing in a school league and they've got a team physician,
Wow.
not like a 7th and 8th grade physician, a 7th grade team physician.
Like the janitor with an empty medical
No
supply
kidding, yeah.
box.
And who
Who has some experience back in NAM.
Yeah. Like, it's just a whole other level. Like, they do the national anthem before games and player announcements and team physicians. And it's like a whole other world.
wild.
Anyway, so she's played great. She's learned a lot. You can see that the team has really grown this year and it's fun to watch. And so anyway, that's kind of our update. We've been in the throes of 7th grade girls basketball.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you, Dilly Willy?
So I was flipping through Netflix the other night, and you can tell you how long it's been since I've been on Netflix. The continue watching category was empty.
Whoa.
Apparently, you can go long enough.
Wow.
And it's not because I finished everything on there. It's because it's like
It's like we forgot.
We
Yeah.
forgot what you were watching.
we don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we were flipping through, and I ran across, which I hadn't seen in a very long time, Kevin James, the actor, comedian.
Right, yeah.
His stand-up special, Sweat the Small Stuff.
I love that.
Oh, that's
I
one of my
love Sweat the
favorites.
Small Stuff.
And I realized it's almost 20 years old now.
Oh, my God.
It was like 2001
Yeah.
was when
Yeah.
it came out. And so I was sort of like caught off guard that it was on there just because I hadn't seen it in a really, really long time. And so I'm telling my wife, I'm like, I have no idea if this humor holds up, but we've got to watch some of this. And I was trying to explain, if you remember this story, Corey, we were watching this. We would have both been still living at home.
Yeah.
With mom, and we had the old, when your TV was the hutch type thing, sitting on the floor in a big wood box.
Right.
And so we're like laying on the floor, probably like propping our heads up with our arms watching this. And I remember literally laughing from like it would go to commercial break and we were like probably wheezing and it's starting to come back from commercial break again and we're just starting to regain our composure
Yeah.
as he's getting going again. Like it was that
yeah.
funny at the time. And if you don't know Kevin James, he was on the show King of Queens. He's done a bunch of stand-up.
Kevin Can Wait.
Kevin Can Wait. He does a lot of stuff with Adam Sandler. The Zookeeper, Paul Blart, Mall Cop.
Yep.
All Kevin James stuff. So I don't think, especially now with the amount of comedians we've watched since, I don't think he's the funniest comedian. But at the time, it was this like we were allowed to watch stand-up at a much younger age. and it was clean but hilarious. And we were like watching movies like Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber and Sandler stuff, like taking quotes from that and like using it in our daily lives.
Oh, yeah, still do.
Because these guys were just hilarious. And it's funny because my wife and I start watching the first like 15 or 20 minutes of this, and she's like, "No, that's why you say that. Oh, that's why you say that. Oh, that's why you say that." And it was really great. And I don't want to tell everyone to go watch it because I don't know how well it holds up after 20 years. And honestly, it's not his job to write comedy that's, literally timeless.
Right.
That was a special. But it made me really appreciate how much that kind of stuff helped get me into stand-up. And I just very distinctly remember watching that at home at a much younger age and just losing it over how funny it was. It's still to this day one of those jokes. It's like, what were you working out upstairs in the attic? No, I peeled an orange like an hour ago. Why? I mean, there's stuff like,
I still say so much of that.
There's lines like that in the him getting off on the wrong floor of the elevator, and him moving too quickly once the door opens and then realizing it's not the floor he wanted to be on, and he's pacing outside the door waiting for the doors to close as people watch him. He's like, "No, this is where I want to be. I want to be here. This is where I want to be. This is good. Just go." It's stuff like that. Like, it's just so funny. So it was just a nice little nod back to like a very fond memory.
Yeah.
It was great. So we did get to watch a little bit of it and go back and laugh a little bit. It was a lot of fun.
Good.
It reminds me, sort of pivoting to current events a little bit. Kobe Bryant passed away last week, and there was a lot of people that I know that were like really sort of torn up about it. And like, I respected him, and I get that he elevated the game of basketball, but I don't really follow the NBA. Like, I didn't really ever follow the Lakers. I knew he was a great player, but that's kind of where it stopped for me. But I had friends that were like really torn up about it. And so I tried to like relate it. And the story you just told reminds me of like Kevin James, Chris Farley, Jim Carrey, like those guys, Will Ferrell, even those guys, like for us, I remember, so they were some of the first people to make me realize that I just wanted to make people laugh and bring joy to people in some small way.
Yeah,
it wasn't like I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. It was just like I see how people respond to them, and I want to do that for other people.
Right.
And so there's a point to this. So Lily gets more love tonight than the other kiddos. I have two other kids I like a lot. But so I introduced Lily to the Ace Ventura movies this past weekend or the weekend before. And I was so excited to show those to her because of how much they meant to me as a kid. And When Nature Calls, the second one, was always my favorite. But then going back, I'm like, I think I like the first one better now that I'm 35. But to be able to sort in some small way pass that down to her, and some of that I probably should not have shown her, but like we saw it much younger. So I'm like, but anyway, here's how I'm tying that all together. I can see where an athlete, a celebrity, somebody in the limelight, like really does shape you, and they show you something or expose you to a world that you didn't really know existed, especially when you live in the country in a town of 3,000 people and you're literally living in the middle of a oak tree woods where it's like your nearest neighbor was, a quarter mile away or whatever. And that's not the case for us. They were right across the street, but we had a long driveway. So, but you see that, and they open your eyes, I guess. Like our Uncle Kevin, like showing us Saturday Night Live when we were kids, and like going, "Oh, this whole sketch comedy thing," and like making people. Anyway, I don't know how it relates, but well, I do know how it relates, but anyway, I was just thinking about that, and like Kobe, and a lot of people were touched by that, and like are still kind of mourning that in a way. And as much as that doesn't make sense, it does make sense.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because as much as we grew up on probably, silly cartoons and, slapstick comedy and Sandler and Farley movies and musicals and some of all of that kind of type of entertainment, for some kids, all they had was pretending to be the superstar in their fadeaway shot and winning, the big game or whatever. So, I could see how that would be really tough for some people. And a lot of people grew up with the likes of, Michael Jordan and Kobe and LeBron and some of these people. And I think especially that, not that Kobe had no scandals around him, but for the most part, nothing in his later part of his life, and then to have his daughter, on the flight too, and it's just it's really heavy. So I could see that for anybody, especially that grew up that way, that sports were that big of a deal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's pretty current too. So it's not as if it's not so far removed that people say, well, this is somebody that I used to look up to. I mean, he retired just a few years ago.
Right.
And so there's that. And then anytime somebody dies prematurely in a tragic fashion, like that adds a level of surprise to it.
Yeah.
And no, I get it.
Yeah. So
Anyway, that's tough stuff. But speaking of sports, big game last night.
Ooh.
Indeed.
Did you guys watch together?
Our church did a sort of viewing party, but people watch the first quarter or the first half, and then they sort of get out of Dodge.
Tapered off. It was a good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a really good
Did
game.
anybody care who won?
I came up with my reasons to care.
Yeah.
But without those, I had to come up with reasons to care.
Yeah.
I do that for any kind of. I do that for probably all sports, and with football, I care a little bit more than if it were Major League Soccer or Major League Baseball, something like that. But typically, if I don't have any strong feelings on the teams in the Super Bowl, as an example, one of my defaults I picked up from our dad a long time ago is how many Buckeyes are on the rosters and how many former Buckeyes can get rings.
That's an annoying way to look at it.
Yeah, I'm sure it is for you. But so that's one, but it's kind of a fun thing to play every year too. And actually, the Niners had Nick Bosa, and then the Chiefs, Darren Lee wasn't playing in the postseason, but Darren Lee is on the roster, and actually Mike Weber is on the practice squad. So Darren Lee and Mike Weber should both get rings then. But I was actually rooting for the 49ers because of Bosa, young Bosa being so recent. And one of my good friends is a 49ers fan. Otherwise, I know no one who likes the 49ers or the Chiefs. So sometimes you've got those like, well, my best friend is an Eagles fan, so I guess I better root for, root for the Eagles if they're in it. I didn't really have that. I had Nick Bosa and one good friend, and so I'm like, all right, that's enough for the 49ers. So
Same, especially big games. You got to come up with reasons to make you care. And I think for me, we grew up, our dad was a Bengals fan in the Boomer Esiason, Ickey Woods days. And the only two times the Bengals have been to the Super Bowl, they were beaten by the 49ers. So I was rooting for the Chiefs. But that was my convoluted rationale behind why I was rooting for the Chiefs.
There you go.
But honestly, after the game, I was happy for Andy Reid. So he was like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
what, the winningest head coach in NFL history without a
Dude,
Super
yeah,
Bowl?
yeah.
So, like, I think everyone can rally around. All right, Andy Reid got a ring.
It's
fantastic.
Yeah. If you're a
Good for
football
him.
fan, like,
Yeah.
there are not football fans who don't like Andy Reid.
By all accounts, he's a lovable guy.
It's really hard not to like him. It's also really hard not to like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was rooting for the 49ers as well. And in part because I figured that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have a future together at Kansas City, and they'll have plenty of opportunities at this. That's the way that's.
Yeah, especially if the Patriots might possibly be on a downward trend.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. Especially after Tom Brady leaves, whenever that is, in 5 years.
Right.
But you saw more of a future for the Chiefs, bringing back more trophies to the good state of Kansas.
Oh, yeah. To the good state of Kansas. Indeed.
Did anybody else catch
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad I saw it before it was deleted.
Well, I just read about it after.
What a great tweet.
But no, I was all about the 49ers just because this is a style of play matches up with what I prefer to see in football. Run first offenses, and pass rush defenses. And the 49ers are both of those things. There's a head coach story of a father-son thing there as well with Kyle Shanahan and his dad Mike Shanahan. So I was rooting for the Shanahan family, and then they won like 4 games last year.
Yeah.
So there was that.
I think what I loved, it just genuinely, you love it when you watch a big game like that, and it really doesn't feel like nobody's playing bad. This is just a great game. And individuals.
Patrick Mahomes played bad until the fourth quarter.
I was going to say individuals might, but overall, both teams were playing very well. Mm-hmm. And Patrick Mahomes didn't really look good till the fourth quarter. But I never looked at. I'm like, oh, the whole team's really looks. They went to half 10-10, right? So like, I'm like, okay, they're both playing. They both showed up.
Yeah.
And it was just
No, it was
Patrick Mahomes just looked real good in the fourth quarter.
that was fun. And I tell you what, Patrick Mahomes, another accolade to that kid. He's young, and
Youngest MVP in Super Bowl history.
He was.
Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I mean, I don't know that I would have named him MVP just because like he wasn't the best player of the game, but and I love the kid. I love him. I think that in short order here, he's going to be the best quarterback in the NFL as soon as a couple guys ahead of him retire, and I think he's going to own the NFL. He's part of what makes him so great is that he's not schemable. Like you can't come up with a scheme that stops Patrick Mahomes because he's that athletic, he's that smart, and he has the arm and the accuracy to go along with it, which is incredible. So it's like, I mean, Tom Brady is smart and he makes the right throws, but he's not buying extra time.
Yeah.
When he steps up into the pocket well, which Patrick Mahomes needs to work on. But I feel like, I mean, he's super young, and he did something in that Super Bowl that, if you're a fan of football, is something that is probably not probably. It could be impossible. Like it happened, but it wasn't just that the game was close. Because the rest of the team was doing so well, the defense was doing great. Patrick Mahomes himself. So it wasn't just that he wasn't getting opportunities and wasn't scoring enough points. It was that Patrick Mahomes was underperforming for 3 quarters. He was playing a bad game for 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter turned that around, and then shined. That is really hard to do. A lot of times that kind of thing seems like it happened, but it's because other parts of the game went awry, but the quarterback play was still fine. And in that game, it wasn't. The quarterback play was bad.
And it was like 3 scoring
and
drives.
Then he turned it on.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody, and really the whole team, but especially him, fly in the face of momentum. It's like they're going cross traffic with momentum in a way that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Typically, momentum means a lot more in a game than whatever happens when they're on the field, and it's just you can often feel if that had been many other NFL teams and you're down by what were they down by 11?
2 scores,
something like that. At least
13.
10, at least 20-10. You'd feel like, okay, this is probably over.
Yeah.
And they just momentum didn't matter to them at all. So props to them.
Yep.
So that was all of our opinions for a game we didn't care about. But everybody's favorite part of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know if we even want to touch the halftime show.
I do it.
Because my Facebook news feed
Your
was
hand will get dirty.
my Facebook news feed was. Ooh, it was heated today. People in direct opposition to one another on their thoughts on the halftime show. But the commercials. Did you guys have a favorite commercial?
I liked the Procter and Gamble one where it was. I'm terrible with names. I'm going to look it up. You guys go ahead and talk.
I like the Smart Pack.
Smart
Pack.
Smart Pack. And even after that commercial, I felt like it really wasn't the content of the commercial. It was seeing Chris Evans and
Rachel Dratch from SNL.
Yeah, and I'm blanking.
Chris Pine. Oh, John Krasinski.
Chris Evans. For me, mostly Chris Evans and John Krasinski. To see them get to interact, I think it's the thing that I kind of end up liking about some of the award season stuff, which maybe we can talk about that. But like getting to see some of those people interact that you wouldn't normally get to see interact. And especially in that, because like it's not like the content itself was that hilarious. It was, they were doing their native accent because they're all from Boston.
Yeah.
And they just played up on
Right.
using a couple words that lended themselves to sounding,
Yeah.
So that was my favorite, and getting to see those three kind of interact together was funny.
We don't watch a lot of live TV, but someone told me that's been on for a while. Like that wasn't exclusive to
Really?
the Super Bowl. That
That's
commercial's
the first
been,
I'd seen it.
That's commercial's been airing for a while. I hadn't seen it, but yeah, it was funny. And Big Papi was in it at the end. I thought that was good. Smart packs.
Sorry, your bigness. No, it's all right. So the commercial,
With the chili and the ceiling fan.
So Sophia Vergara and Rob Riggle.
Oh,
He's
he's shooting the paper towel
shooting
rolls.
the paper towel rolls out to everybody.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who are listening, follow all our social channels. We'll push some of these commercials out if we haven't over the next week or so.
But I think the big winner, if I could speak for all of us, was the Bill Murray Groundhog Day.
That was fun.
Jeep
That was
commercial.
fun.
Pretty
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
That is one of those movies that we sort of grew up on and that really shaped us. And we still, I still laugh at that like it's the first time I've seen it. Who doesn't love a good Bill Murray movie?
By the way,
I love a bad Bill Murray.
the insurance salesman guy hasn't aged a day.
Oh yeah.
Did you notice that? I can't
Ned
remember.
Ryerson?
Ned Ryerson. The guy looks exactly the same as he did in the movie. I don't know how that's possible. And then his brother, the mayor is Bill Murray's actual brother
yes, in
playing
real life.
the mayor, and he was in it. I can never think of his name, but
Yeah, he's in a lot of other movies. So,
Brian Doyle Murray.
Brian Doyle Murray.
Brian Doyle Murray.
Yeah. So one of my colleagues, who we've talked about multiple times on the podcast, Dan. He's one of my favorite guys on our team. Super great guy. He's got stories for days, and like unbelievable stories. And I think, man, you've lived like 3 lives in like a half of a life. And he needs to start his own podcast. But since we're talking about the Super Bowl, and since I know Dan has 2 good Bill Murray stories, I thought we would call Dan right now live and have him tell his Bill Murray stories because I think they're really fun.
Do it.
If you
Do
guys,
it.
if you guys
Do
think
it.
that would be fun. All right. So here's the thing about Dan, and he might get into this. He is a diehard Green Bay Packers fan and a season ticket holder. He had to wait like something like 30 years to get these tickets. And so obviously San Francisco beat the Packers in the game leading up to the Super Bowl. So Dan was rooting for the Chiefs. But we'll call Dan here and we'll see what he has to say.
Hello.
Dan, it's Corey.
Hey, Corey. How are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, you're live on From the Middle, brother.
What's up, buddy?
Hello, guys. How
Hey,
are you?
Dan.
It's an honor.
We were just
I'm a long-time listener. You know, Corey, I've been listening to your show since it was from the cradle.
I said a little context earlier. I said you're one of my favorite guys to work with, and you have so many stories, unbelievable stories. I said you for sure need to start your own podcast, but that's another story for another day.
Well, you're very kind, Corey, and you know the feeling is mutual. You're one of my favorites as well. You know that.
So we were talking Super Bowl, and we were talking our favorite commercials, which led to our favorite, the Bill Murray Groundhog Day Jeep commercial.
Yeah, it seemed to be the hands-down winner. The crowd at my Super Bowl party went bananas during that commercial. It was really good.
Tell us about your Super Bowl party. Did you have fun?
Well, so I live, I don't know if, I know you know this, I don't know if the other guys do. I'm a diehard Packer fan and been a fan all my life, and I'm recently a season ticket holder, and live in the Bay Area. So I've been to 2 Packer games at Levi's Stadium, and I won't go into details, but they were less than love fest. Let me put it that way. I had a much better time at the Oakland County Coliseum as a Packer fan than I did at the 49ers games. But anyway, that's setting aside, and that's a whole nother story. But so I was at a gathering with a bunch of 49ers fans, and in fact, Corey, you'll appreciate this. The room that I was sitting in watching the game was an ode to the 49ers that puts my Packers stuff to shame.
Really?
So needless to say, I had to be a little delicate with respect to my disdain for all the other fans of the 49ers, other than the 25 people that I was in the room with that were raucous Niners fans. So I was, my emotions were mixed. Let me put it that way.
Well,
We
Rogers,
had a wonderful time, and it was a great party.
Rogers and the Pack had a great run. You guys had a good season, and I have high hopes for next year. What are your thoughts on next year for the
Well,
Pack?
It was. I mean, how much time do we have? It was a magical year. It really was. And again, you're running at the risk, Corey, of getting me off on a soapbox, and you'll never get rid of me. But all truth be told, what LaFleur did this year in his rookie year as a Packer head coach was absolutely unbelievable, and he's really built, I think, a camaraderie and a team spirit. You know, I think all NFL teams and all teams talk about that, and it's, I think, more unusual in the NFL, given they're all professional athletes and overpaid and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so I think he's done a great job with getting these guys to all think as one and be a family and play for each other and all that sort of stuff, which the game of football requires. And it was a great season. You know, we won a lot of games we shouldn't have won. Lost some games we shouldn't have lost as well. But it was really a fun season and really exciting. And I think the Packers overperformed. And I'm the eternal optimist when it comes to the Packers. So I'm going to go on record and say I'm optimistic about next season.
Okay, duly noted. And we have millions and millions of listeners all over the world who are going to hold you to that.
I know you do. You know, I think I was the fourth listener after the first three in Syria. For those of you who can remember back to episode 1.
Oh, that's awesome.
You're the one who finally brought us to the Americas.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been trying to crack that U.S. market.
You're welcome.
And you brought us in.
All roads lead through me.
Okay, so we're all big Bill Murray fans, and you have two really good Bill Murray stories that I would like for you to share. You sent me some photos to prove this, Exhibit A and Exhibit B, which I will share with my From the Middle mates here, and we'll post them maybe on our Facebook page. But start with the first one when I'll let you go. You just go.
Yeah. So a little bit of background. You know, I'm a big fan of his as well. Obviously, I mean, I just think he's a brilliant comedian, and I think that of true artistry and the greatest movie ever made. You know, some may say Citizen Kane. I say Caddyshack. I mean, it just touches all the bases. But anyway, in all seriousness, he grew up in Wilmette, Illinois, which is where my wife grew up and where we spent 30 years and raised our 2 kids. And so we have a lot of history in Wilmette, obviously. My kids and my wife went to New Trier High School, which is one of the 2 high schools in Wilmette. The other high school is a private Catholic high school, Loyola, which is actually where Bill Murray went. So he lived down the street from us. His house was, was near us. And the whole Caddyshack story is about his and his brother Brian Doyle's experience as caddies at the Indian Hill Club, which was across the street from our house in Wilmette. So, I feel like I kind of know the guy. And it doesn't take much for me to behave that way. So Tam and I, my wife Tam and I, are at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am one year, and we're standing on the 10th tee, and Bill Murray comes up to the tee, and he hits a shot. He's wearing I don't know if he was wearing a propeller hat or something. And there's a huge throng of people because everybody wants to see Bill Murray, right? So we're standing there, we're along the ropes. He hits his tee shot, and out of nowhere, my wife says, "Hey, Bill, Loyola or New Trier?" And this is on the 10th tee of Pebble Beach in California, and he looks at her, and he's like a heat-sinking missile to my wife. And listen, I happen to think my wife is very attractive and gorgeous, so I don't blame him for that. But boy, oh boy, he came after him like a tiger. Came after her like a tiger. So he locks in on her, and they start to have this conversation about Wilmette and New Trier and Loyola, and they just have this wonderful conversation. That's at Exhibit A I sent you, Corey, this picture of Tam, and Tam's just holding court with Bill Murray. There's 100 people around there that all just want a picture of him. And Tam's having this conversation. So finally, after what seemed like to me an eternity of these two just having a little dialogue, she forgot I was even there. He's late, right? He's got to go down and he's got to hit his ball. So they finally say to Bill, they said, and they're having this really lovely conversation about Wilmette. It was really nice, and he was a really nice guy, and he was very engaging, and it was very sweet. And so anyway, they tell him to go. He's got to get going. So the last thing he says is he's walking away. He's walking down the fairway, and he sees that I'm with Tam. He finally notices that she's with a guy. And he looks down the fairway and he says the following. He says, "Hey, Tam, if you ever lose that guy, give me a call." Swear to God, he said it. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me."
So now you've got that hanging over your head.
I got that hanging over my head. So fast forward to second story, Corey. I'll string them together. This past October, I was in Atlanta to play some golf, and I was at a charity event at the East Lake Club, and Bill Murray's there. And so now I think we're pals, right? 'Cause he's sitting on my
Which pause real quick, Dan. This is very Dan. Like, he doesn't know a stranger.
Yeah.
Anytime we're on a work trip together, I mean, this dude will strike up a conversation with anybody, and he finds the quickest connection, and they're talking like old friends. It's the most endearing thing to watch. This guy is.
Well, you're very sweet.
Okay. Anyway,
I'll say this. I do get it from my dad. Whatever that is that you just described comes from my dad, and I wish I had a nickel for every time I had my head in my hands, because my dad was doing it, and I'm doing the same stuff now.
anyway, okay.
So I'm at this event in Atlanta in October, and Bill Murray's there. There are a lot of celebrities that were there, and he's sitting in a corner all by himself. He's got a drink in front of him and a couple desserts, and he clearly wants to be left alone. Well, that never stopped Dan Rustin from approaching somebody. So he's got a handler there, right? He's got somebody who's keeping people at bay. I don't know what, it seems to me that's a role, and he's hiding out in a corner, and I go in like a bull in a china shop. And I walk up to him and I tell him that same story again. He pretends like he listens it, but listens to it, and remembers it. But the funniest thing was, and the reason why I just love the guy, and he's such a great sport, was I walked up to him and I did feel like I was going to be encroaching on his quiet time, right? So I was conscious of that, and so my lead-in to him was, I said, Bill, I promise this will just take a minute and it won't hurt a bit. And he turns around to me and without missing a beat says the following: "Well, I'll be the judge of that."
Oh,
I
man.
thought it was just absolutely perfect. So, we talked about WOMAD and all that stuff, and he's kind enough to take a picture. He was just a really sweet guy, very nice. He's an eccentric guy, but talk about a guy who's got stories. He's got a million of them, and so it was really quite fun. And I actually, come to think of it, Corey, I'm actually going to be at the AT&T Pro-Am on Friday, so I might see him again, and maybe I'll have another story for you guys if I can on time again.
That's awesome. So whether you talk to him again or not, we're probably going to call you in the future because you've got so many stories. One of my favorites is when you were living in Chicago and one of the most popular DJs in Chicago, there was a contest and you won this contest and ended up going with this DJ to Hawaii.
What?
Like,
That's a doozy.
Yeah. Oh, that's like a good 20-minute sit down with an adult beverage. And anyway, so Dan's got stories for days.
That was a doozy. Anytime, like I said, I don't often hear anybody ask me to tell them a story. So this is very, very nice for me.
I'm afraid we've started something here, but I do think it'll benefit the four people that listen to this show. So
exactly. Well, I hope so.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure, guys.
All right.
Keep
Thanks,
up the good
Dan.
work. Hey, listen. In all seriousness, it's a great show, and it's you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up.
Man, thanks.
I really enjoy it, and you guys are just doing some great stuff. So continue to have fun and continue to knock it out of the park. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Dan.
You're the best, man.
Hey, when
See you guys.
When are you starting yours?
TBD.
Okay.
Once I get clearance from the tower.
Okay, got
It's
it.
coming out on VHS.
Yes, exactly.
All right, bye, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That reminded me, do you listen to The Fan? And
Yeah.
Common Man and T-Bone have a name dropping with Jeff Rimmer.
Okay.
That's exactly what that reminds me of. And his whole segment is just Jeff Rimmer. Well, I ran into Ben Stiller while I was in L.A. getting ready to do
I haven't listened to The Fan in a long time.
Yeah. Seriously,
I've been
though.
wasting my time with podcasts.
Yeah. Who listens to those?
Nobody.
I listen to The Fan frequently. Shout out to our local sports radio, 97.1 The Fan.
Indeed.
I do listen. You can, I'm sure, stream it on all the places that
We
stream
do
sports
I think
radio.
probably every town says this and probably has their own, but I think that we've got a couple of the funniest, best local sports guys.
Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree. So
Anyway, that's Dan. He's a character, and for you middlers out there, don't be surprised if we call him back for another one of his stories. Seriously, I mean, they don't stop, and you're just like, how have you lived this much life? But he's traveled a lot for work, and he's connected and knows some people, and it's funny. So not like mafia connected. Sorry, Dan.
Well, I think we all know that. I think we all know people who are like that, who can they can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And it's uncanny. Like I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to talk to anyone, much less strangers.
Yeah.
And to be able to find things in common that you can talk. Like I don't understand how that works.
He's a master of it.
But I know people who do that, and so it makes sense that those kinds of people would just start to feed itself eventually, because now you have more stories because you're good at talking to people.
Yeah. I know he's going to listen to this, so I don't want to give him too big of a head, but like he just is one of the most genuine, down to earth people, but he's also hilarious and has those stories. And to watch him facilitate a group of executives and be real and a human being, but also super professional and know his stuff, it's something to see. And he's a cool guy. So thanks, Dan, for letting us pick your brain a little bit and hear your Bill Murray stories. But yeah, the commercials were great. The one that I saw today, I hadn't seen it live. Somebody sent me the link, or maybe even posted it on our. I think it was maybe Charles that posted it on our Facebook page, the Jason Momoa one.
Could be. Oh, and I got to mention something about Charles.
Oh, that was hilarious.
the weird is the word you mean. It was weird.
Super weird.
Yeah, we were watching that, this dismantling like it's Play-Doh. And I just was wild.
His bald head. Oh, with the horseshoe long hair was hilarious. Anyway, what about Charles? What's up?
I'm going to read you a text message exchange that happened between Charles Martindale. If you don't remember Charles, he was the mystery middler.
Oh yeah, the voicemail.
Right.
From a while ago. So he texted me after the recent episode with Kester, where he got on my case about
The rock climbers.
About the rock climbers.
Yeah.
And okay, so this is the text to me. Oh, hold on. Oh, nope, that's not it.
Are we really not going to do the halftime show?
We can.
Oh, we're not skipping this.
No, I was vamping for you.
You don't need to vamp.
He said, I'm off Facebook, so I can't comment on it. So maybe that wasn't him who commented, but maybe he got back on. He comes and goes.
Okay.
He's got a healthy balance with his Facebook life. But I can say definitively that the Nalgene water bottle / Cliff Bar / carabiner trend was very prominent in southeastern Ohio back then too. And then I said, yes. And then I also said, it's not that everyone wanted to be a rock climber. It's more of a use of an expression. What are you, a rock climber? And then he agreed with that. He said, everyone was fixating on the rock climber part. They were missing the big picture. Those things were popular with rock climbers because they had utility. But for whatever reason, they transcended into the mainstream and just became trendy for people who've never seen a rock before. I share your bewilderment that they never encountered that trend. It was everywhere.
Vindication.
Vindicated.
Ah, good for you, man.
Vindicated.
Kester's not buying it. I'm just gonna.
I know. I think that there is a dissenting group of, I think that there's a small group of weird ones who missed that the Nalgene water bottle, Cliff Bar, and carabiner thing was ever a trend. And it just so happened that two of them were in this room at the same time.
Yeah. And if you aren't familiar with what we're talking about, go back and listen to episodes 34 and 35.
Because it was
among others.
Because I like that he pointed that out. It was also the same time that like using a carabiner as a keychain became a thing at that same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember going out to I remember having to go to a hardware store to get one, because if you went to the automotive section or whatever in a department store or whatever, they didn't sell carabiners because they weren't popular yet.
Right.
But they were just kind of starting that trend. And I remember looking for one, not finding one anywhere, eventually finding one in a hardware store, like an actual one. Anyway.
There we go.
There you go.
I believe you now.
So
you sold me on it.
So we want to try to touch the halftime show.
Why not? What'd you guys think?
I'm not going to be
Two
the
words. 2 words. Describe the halftime show
I don't mind. I don't mind starting. Enough people.
without using the word shake.
Yeah. I'm already the least favorite co-host, so I don't mind starting. It's fine.
That's not true.
Yeah.
It's easily Kendall.
So here was my initial reaction. Like, if my daughter was older, because she's not quite 2,
Right.
I wouldn't have wanted her in the room watching the halftime show,
Right.
personally.
Sure.
But at the same time, I recognize that these are 2 women that everyone knew what kind of music and dancing that they did before halftime.
Also true.
Highly advertised. They're in
Yep.
Miami. There's some level of
One of them has a movie to promote.
yeah, and you're in Miami with this large base of, it's a huge mix of cultural whatever, and Shakira and J-Lo both lend themselves to like the whole Miami vibe and whatever.
Right.
So because we were sitting with my mother and father-in-law, and I'm like, this isn't either of them being gross or whatever just for the halftime show. This is their shtick that they've been doing.
They're gross all the time.
They're well, if you don't like it, it is. But I'm like, this is part of they're from a whole different culture than especially where we are in the middle of Ohio, right? So so for me, it was like this is normal for them. You should have known what you were getting into when you heard that they were doing the halftime show. It's an easy Google search to see what kind.
Sure.
So it's like, this isn't probably the halftime show for the youth group or for young kids, but I think most reasonable people kind of knew what they were getting into.
Well, it's not about knowing. I don't think anybody was surprised. I don't think anybody was like, I can't believe it.
I think some people were. I think there was a lot of phony outrage over. I can't believe they would put on a show like that.
Well,
it's the halftime of the Super Bowl.
That's an expression. I don't think that means they're actually surprised. I don't think that means that it was not what they expected.
I don't know what it is then. So, but I thought it was fine.
I think they don't like it.
Well, that's fine.
And they fully expected to not like it.
Yeah,
and
that's,
then it happened. They didn't like
to
it.
me, it felt a little like several years ago, the Oscars invited Seth MacFarlane to host.
Yeah.
And then the day after, it's like, oh my goodness, we couldn't believe that he said what he said. And I'm like, it's Seth MacFarlane. What do you mean you can't?
Right.
How can you be surprised?
Yeah, this
or
is
having Ricky Gervais host.
Exactly. This is why they booked
This is why you got hired to do this thing, because that's your shtick and you did it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, J-Lo and Shakira aren't new acts.
Yeah.
They did pretty much the thing they've been doing in music videos for however long they've been doing their thing. Not appropriate probably for young eyes, but the Super Bowl generally is probably not for young. All of it. I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, I agree. And it's not really devil's advocate that I'm playing, but because I think that there's still a point, like that people can have a viewpoint that they didn't like it without actually. I don't like I said before, I don't think that it was different from what people expected from those 2. I think the phrase like I can't believe they would do that would come out whether or not it was expected. I don't think it means that that's not what I expected. I think it means just I can't believe we live in a time when this kind of thing is on television. I think that's more along the lines of what it means.
okay.
So
yeah, I also the comment of all of that was happening in the show, and then the whole kids choir right in the middle of it. I do get that part.
That
of
is
it too.
that part. Like when I was talking to my wife about it, like it was like because I was having a conversation with a few guys while it was going on. So I wasn't watching a whole lot of the halftime show.
Yeah,
I just remembered like during Shakira's set, every time I looked up, she was wearing less clothing, and then I remember, and then when J-Lo came on and made her appearance, and at first the comment that I made to the guys was is she having a King Kong moment up there on the, because it looked kind of like she was on top of the skyscraper with a needle on top, and then I made the point of like, no, that's a pole. She's promoting a movie, and then we all kind of chuckled about it, and so then we were talking whatever, and then we look up again and she's on an actual pole, and we're like, yep, you were right. And then we continue talking. And I look up again, and it's a bunch of little girls up there singing, and that's the moment where I went, ugh.
One of which was her daughter, right?
Was it?
Yeah, I think the soloist of the young children was her daughter.
I don't know. I'm not going to play moralist to the point where I think that that it it certainly shouldn't have been on there and like heads need to roll and that sort of thing. I'm definitely moralist to the point where I don't want my kids seeing it. For sure.
And I think those are two different arguments.
Like,
is it
I don't
appropriate
care.
for my household is different than was that really inappropriate for the Super Bowl based on what normally happens during halftime of the Super Bowl. Like, I don't think that was a wild halftime show.
Right, but you can still be of the opinion that generally speaking, halftime shows are wild. Or too
Sure.
wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And that falls back
So,
to the first
right.
question.
So
is it appropriate for my family,
So the
household?
argument doesn't
Different
get
question.
depleted.
Yeah, different question.
So it's a moral question, and so what you're discussing is the moral, not
Yeah.
how frequent it happens. You're
Yeah.
discussing the moral.
Yeah. Corey?
As an artist, I'm always okay when things force us to ask ourselves questions and might be a little provocative, not in the way that people traditionally define provocative. Provocative in the sense of it's forcing you to ask question and it's causing a reaction on purpose. I'm okay when art does that. We all have the benefit of changing the channel.
Right.
Right.
If we don't like it, we change the channel.
True.
From a clothing perspective, women wear a lot less on Dancing with the Stars. A lot less on
True.
Dancing with the Stars. But because there's a pole involved, and then part of me goes, well, it's part of, like, a lot of those dance moves were just very Latin culture sort of things, and that's way more accepted in Latin culture than it is. So this is not me apologizing for it. This is me just thinking out loud, taking all this in, right? Like,
Yeah.
thinking
So if it's
about-
acceptable, then we can throw the word stripper in there and say that, promoting being a stripper is okay. And that's is that part of the culture thing too? Like, it's okay because it's part of a culture, or is it?
I meant the the salsa, not the pole.
Oh, okay.
But so I'm okay with art forcing us to ask those questions.
Yeah.
What I have more issue with is the same people that loved Adam Levine being shirtless with all his tattoos showing last year. All of a sudden are upset. All of a sudden, these same people are upset. And then you start to go, are you just mad that they look that good at 43 and 50?
Because you at 43 and 50 seem to love Adam Levine.
Like, so that's the part that bothers me. Like the social outpouring of emotions and reactions. I always try to distill that down to some base ideas and go, wait, you were posting the heart eye emoji last year with Adam Levine pictures.
Well, I think if Jayla would have had a giant California tattoo across her stomach, it would have been better.
So
There you go.
I don't know. I just don't like the double standard. And in the same way you could say this isn't good for women, like that they've depicted themselves in this way. You could also say, wow, they know who they are. They know their lane. Like you guys both said, they stayed in their lane. They look great for their age. Like, no, I don't want my little girls watching it necessarily. I don't. But I don't know. It's a very fine and tricky line.
Yeah.
And I get it. But it's just really funny to watch. And the just people are furious.
Yeah.
And so upset. And it's like,
Yeah.
how long have Super Bowl halftime shows been the topic of Monday morning conversations for this same reason? Why are we acting like we're surprised by this? There was the famous clothing, the wardrobe malfunction.
Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been having the same conversation on Monday morning, and they're doing that on purpose. I mean, why are
That's a fantastic point.
why are
Yeah.
we surprised by this? You knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard on the radio they were discussing it that the hosts of the show thought it was fine, and they were talking about how the only reason people were really outraged is because apparently Americans don't like to have to teach their kids anything.
That's a really good point.
So they didn't want to have to even explain. It's like, I'm too tired. I don't even want to have to explain they're from a different culture. This might be more normal, that this is a thing. I don't have
the
to
salsa,
do-
not the pole.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so, or yeah, just any of it. Just that it's also they choose to be in. Neither of them need money. You know, both of them could have literally said, "I'm going to show up in a bathrobe and this is what I'm going to wear during the show," and they could have gotten away with it because of who they are. And so, there's the whole conversation that would have to go with that. That they're like, Americans just don't want to do that.
I did think it was funny that Shakira started with the same outfit that her animal character wore in Zootopia.
Yeah,
It's the same outfit. I
There's
was like,
no way that just happened.
that was
like
a fun
by chance.
That was a fun little nod.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of shows, that Lego Master Builder show starts this week. I'm really
Oh, boy,
excited to
yeah.
watch it. It's like a competition show.
I think by the time people are listening, it will
Tonight.
happen tonight. If you're listening Wednesday, or if you're listening later, it's probably already on Hulu. So go check it out.
I hope it's good.
Yeah,
There's,
I hope so.
I feel like, yeah.
There's a way to do that in a quality way that would be genuinely entertaining, and then there's a way that it's just like, we just show the thing built, and then the host gets to knock it over or whatever he does in the commercial, and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, this has been a fun episode. Did we want to talk awards season at all, or catch that on the
Yeah, let's do that on the flippity flop.
flippity flop?
All right.
All right, kids. Well, thanks for listening. This has been a fun episode. Dan, thanks for letting us chat with you about your Bill Murray story. We hope you all enjoyed the Super Bowl and that you're not too shocked and appalled to go to work tomorrow because of the halftime show. So we love you, and life is good, and it's all going to be okay, and things are fine. And you're good enough, you're smart enough, and people like you. And guess what? You can change channels whenever you want.
Yeah.
And you reserve that right, and we love you. And,
And
you're
and if you
smart.
change them in time, you won't even have to teach your kids anything.
yeah, if
So-
you're quick enough, you
You're
won't have
quick
to.
enough. You won't
If
have
you
to
don't
teach
want to
them
be
anything.
a lazy American, then you need to let your children watch everything.
Right, and then just
That's what
use
we're
it
saying.
all for
That's- so
teaching
that's-
moments.
That's what we're really
That's what
saying
we're really
here.
driving
Good.
at.
I'm glad we didn't fall into another ditch on that one.
Good talk, guys. I'm glad we had this time together.
Peace out.
Thanks, Backroom.
Whatever. Wherever.
Words.